Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to Office Hours. And you know what time it is. It's Q&A time here on a Friday morning. We've got a great panel assembled for you today. Literal decades of life experience have assembled to answer your media and production questions, so we're going to dive right in. Alexander, what's the first question?
All right, this one is coming in from Harold Williams in Portsmouth. Harold asks, can the panel please explain video feedback? Does it still happen even though videos are coming from different sources composited onto the video wall?
Courtney.
Well, as long as those different sources are being rephotographed by the camera and fed back into the video wall. That's the whole idea behind feedback. It's just like audio feedback, except it regenerates, and usually there's a delay involved. And it used to be very, very little delay. We used to do this in analog video. If you remember, let's step back in time to Doctor Who. The Doctor Who opening. This is video feedback from the 60s, where you pointed a camera at a video monitor and then you composited something in the middle there, and you'd get this streaming effect of the video feeding back into itself. And if you change the angle of the monitor a little bit, it would swirl around. And that was what was used in a lot of title sequences back in the 60s and 70s. But these days, you have to avoid it because if you have a speaker on the stage and a video wall behind them, and you put the iMag of that person on the video wall behind them, and you shoot them in any similar size, the video will go in the camera, then appear on the video wall behind them a fraction of a second later, and then that'll be rephotographed and then appear on the video wall a fraction of a second later, and it causes a cascading effect of them feeding back, and it can get quite ugly as it regenerates. So you got to make sure that if you have a video behind something, it doesn't contain video from the camera that you're shooting it with. And I think CJ had a
Hey, it's demo time.
Demonstration of it with the Illustrator.
So what I've done here is I have a second Mac with Zoom up on it, just to show a video preview window. And then I'm feeding that Mac's, so my program output is going to the Mac, which has a full screen of the program output. And I'm going to throw it into a multi-box so that you can see what Courtney's talking about. So if I take that now, you can see that as the latency happens, all of a sudden you get this tunneling effect. And then depending on where it's centered in the shot, you can start to get these wacky effects if I were to do a little zoom in and out. Or if I take this little telestrator, you can start to see there's a lot going on there. So, yeah, that's apropos for a 60s title sequence. But that's that's all the demo I got for today. Next question.
All right, Laura Thompson in Beaumont, Texas asks, hey, Tom, how many trombones are in the big parade?
Hey, Tom, how many have you got? How many trombones? It's a Music Man, Tom.
Well, Robert Preston counts 76 trombones in the Music Man, and I'm completing my 76th orbit around the sun today.
Well, happy birthday, Mr. Ferguson. I suppose in true Office Hours fashion, you have just earned yourself a serenade. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tom. Happy birthday to you.
That has got to be one of the
audio
best.
feedback right there.
You know, the way to do that birthday thing is to have one person conduct, but don't sing, and everybody else follow their hands. Now you're all delayed the right amount. Next year.
We'll figure one of these years we're going to get it. I had to take my ears out because I can't, with that small delay, all of a sudden my brain starts to break. That happened to me once. I was doing the national anthem with four or five other singers to start an event, and all of a sudden, like, our monitors got latency, and it totally messed me up. But I wasn't in a place where I could, like, stop it from coming into my brain. And I just remembered being the hardest thing was just to stay focused and try to turn off my ears. It is a crazy thing. But happy birthday, Tom.
Control the tism. CJ,
control it.
control
I know. I'm working on it. The doctors think they've got me figured out. Next question.
From the QR
Just a
code,
touch,
Brian
just a
Stokes in Silver Spring, Maryland is asking, using multiple cameras with different models, how do you make sure they all match?
Chris Sabato.
You don't. Like, it's hard. It's really hard. And usually one of the cameras is easier to match than the other. And so I found in my setup, I've got a handful of Marshall cameras and some JVC cameras. I found that it's easier to match to get the Marshall cameras looking good and then match the JVCs to the Marshalls. Your mileage may vary, but that's what I like playing around with it. Like one of them is going to be, it's going to be easier one way or the other, and figuring out which way that is will help things. It's really hard, but you just dial it in, and you're kind of slowly tweaking back and forth until you find something you like. It's almost never going to be perfect, but if you can get it close, most of the time it's good enough, depending on what you're doing, anyways. At least for
Fenwick?
me.
If you ever get a chance, there are some videos out there where the DP, Shane Hurlbut, talks about how he sets up cameras for one of his big shoots. And even though he has ultimate budget, ultimate time, and, all the desire in the world to get the cameras to completely match, it's still super hard. So if you don't have the same cameras, my recommendation, if you can get away with it, is to do what I call embrace the suck and say, look, they're going to look different. So let's do something with that. Let's have like this camera be, black and white, or this camera maybe whatever, more grain on it or something like that. But really, you just got to get the same camera. You can turn all the knobs and do all the half wipes and check your scopes. Just get the same camera.
Courtney.
Yeah, this can be difficult. A good starting point. It depends. Where's Mickey? It depends, because if the cameras are in the same location, let's say they're all in the same studio under the same lighting conditions, you use go away, Chet. A chip chart or a chart, color chart. This is a camera chroma Dumont chart, and you can see why there's $1,795 for a piece of cardboard that is printed. That's what you get for this $1,795, but it's very precisely printed. And so you put that on a stand and you light it with the proper illumination using the same lights that you're going to light your subjects with. And you put the cameras all side by side and you shoot the same chart, and then you line them up using your scopes and your scopes to put all the little targets in the right boxes, and vector scope. And once you do that, then you can do your wipes like Fenwick was talking about, and what Alex would used to say is he'd wipe, halfway between one camera and the next camera, and then you balance them so that the colors match.
Well, he would do an overlay with a difference mat, I think, and then keep adjusting it until the image was black, right?
You can't do a difference mat from multiple cameras because they can never have exactly the same image. So that's the problem with doing that. If you want to do a difference mat to mat, before and
but
after,
you got to grab a still and then put
from
another
a
camera in the same position, right.
source tape or a single camera with before and after, in the same spot. But you have to have the same image to do a different map, and no two cameras can shoot exactly the same image when they're sitting side by side. So there's that problem. But you can get them as close as you can. But then the problem comes into, then this camera A goes over and shoots somebody by the window where you got a different, amount of light or color of light coming through the window. And camera B goes over here where it's got just tungsten light. And camera C goes over here where it's lit to, 30-foot candles less. And, then the color goes out the window. So you have to play it by ear to make it match.
Guy?
Yeah, it's going to be tough if you're using different manufacturers. It's hard enough just doing it with ones that are from the same manufacturer. So step one is to just get the white balance dialed in. And a lot of these inexpensive cameras won't even have all the functionality that you need to go into the proper steps. So like I have a meter, so I have a spectrometer where I can go up and I could measure that I'm getting 4,620 Kelvin, and I could dial in 4,620, whereas some white balance on some cameras will just say indoor, outdoor, and then custom white balance. And you could try and then perform a manual white balance with a white sheet. I've seen people just use whatever's available. I mean, on Jeff Keithley's events, we've just grabbed a towel and set it up and then hit it with 6 different angles of all the different cameras. And then there's a shader in the back running no omniscope, and he's got a Scion view, and he's sitting there trying to get the double diamonds to match up as best as he can. So having somebody with experience that could sit there and dial those in, it's a true skill. It's not something that you learn overnight. But yeah, those Chroma Dumont charts for $1,795, that's the key. I mean, having a proper waveform vector scope, getting those targets to dial in, and then using the red and blue gain and pedestal, and you really got to sit there and just move them very, very accurately until everything lines up. And multiple manufacturers is really tough, even with just different lenses. You could have the same camera but different lenses, and then you can make custom LEDs. And Alex used to talk about how he would go through the extravagance to do all that. So it depends on how tight your tolerance is, and if it's for live or for post. It's a lot easier to do with post, like CJ's showing one of these passport color checkers, which is the same one that I have to do this. The shop that I work with, we have a bigger Chroma Dumont chart that was not quite maybe it was a $1,700 one. And then you need an accurate monitor too to look at. So it helps to have not through the entire chain, because folks will be looking on set at different monitors and they'll be like, this looks a little of this color. And I like having proper scopes and a proper monitor where I could say, yeah, come over to my station and take a look. And then you could see when we cut back and forth how accurate it truly is.
Fenwick. Can't hear you, Fenwick. We broke his stream decks. He's gonna come in.
In today's day and age where every monitor is a color monitor, it's actually harder. Back in the old days, Courtney, when everything was black and white, except for like program and preview, you go, no, don't look over there. I'll also say, putting a prompter in front of one of the cameras after you've balanced them, that'll screw it up. And watch some stuff critically. Watch a newscast. Oftentimes you look at it and you go, those cameras don't look the same. They really don't. It's harder to tell when they're shooting different things, but like, look at the back wall behind the anchors or something. But I will tell you this, the people that are the best at shading cameras, sports engineers, the video room in a sports truck, those guys are magicians. And even still, watch the green on the field. Sometimes it changes.
Yeah, and the other thing that you have to think about is how are you structuring your edit? If you have 2 different angles that are a close-up of the same person, and you know that those cameras aren't perfect, are you going to go to something else in between? Because the eye is going to acclimate to that in-between shot before you go to the other angle, and all of a sudden your skin tone isn't as jarring. And really, it's the balance on the blacks, the balance on the whites, and the balance on the skin tones are the things that are going to, or what people are going to anchor on. And when you get those right, if other things are slightly off, it's going to be less jarring. And ultimately what you're trying to do is create, it's like the classic thing with video. Your job is to be invisible. Your job is to work really hard to make sure people don't know you're there. So when you are trying to balance different camera families, different lenses, different angles with slightly different light mixes, depending on how you're getting there, how much effort are you putting forward to get to that end result? And if you got to 90% and it's going to take just as much effort to get to 100, at some point you've got to make the call of, is it going to be a good show or not for the person who's watching it? And that's where the art comes in. Next question.
This one's coming in from Andre Dole in Berlin. Any recent AI projects to show off?
The Tinkerer in Chief, Mr. Chris Sabato.
Yeah. I'm always working on something, right? The thing that I was working on this past weekend was a photo tagging app for that runs completely in the browser. It's 100% JavaScript. It's local, and so I can. This is all these photos are. I just browse and open. They're all local on my computer, and I can load in a roster. And so real quickly, I can. It's fine. Okay, I can just say, all right, there's number 4, and then quickly go through and tag who's in each one of these. I can also, add, action or candid or any other keyword I want to this. And then once I'm done, I can use the metadata templates to go in and define what exactly shows in the metadata. And it's templates, so there's things like opponent, which may appear in multiple fields. And so I can create an opponent variable that then when I go to actually apply the template, it asks me for those variables, and any place that variable occurs in the template, it updates it. I click apply to all photos, and it renders out, and it doesn't render anything. It just applies all the metadata to all the photos, and now all those photos have the proper metadata in them. And going forward, anyone who has that photo has that information. And it's all in browser. It's all locally hosted. There's nothing goes to the cloud, and yeah.
I did something similar. Was trying to catalog a few thousand photos that encompassed about 30 years of a company history. And I was trying to figure out, okay, if I'm going to hand off this media library to someone to do a retrospective, how are they going to be cataloged? How are they going to be tagged? How are we going to say what are misfires, what aren't? And at first I was doing it the old-fashioned way and doing stars and tagging, and I'm like, it's one of those things where after the first 5 minutes, you're like, okay, I know I'm going to need to do this part at some point, but I don't need to do it for everything. And so I just exported all of the assets into one big pile. And then I was like, okay, I need you to organize these by event, delete the obvious misfires. If there's 2 different exposures, look for sharpness, and then give me a quick caption about what the photo is. Because, this has been happening since before the LLM tools. You've been able to go into a phone and type in dog, and then every photo of a dog comes up. So we know that they're good at identifying what's in a picture. And then I also had to do things like scan for if there are kids in the photos. We want to tag that as needs to be up for review because we might not have clearance depending on where we want to put it. And it was able to do a really good job of cataloging everything. The other thing that I did is I did a family tree where I was trying to reach back to see how far could I trace. I went to all 4 of my grandparents, and then how far back could I trace things with primary documents. And so I ended up getting like a 6-month Ancestry.com, newspapers.com, Ford 3, the military records database. And then I put Claude in Chrome after it, gave it the search parameters, and it was able to piece together a pretty awesome lineage that was actually connected with primary documents. And any place that it couldn't connect with a primary document, like you set up the constraint that, okay, this is a place that you can't keep going down this path because we really don't know for sure without human eyes. And it turns out the English are much better record keepers than the Sicilians because I get back another 200 years. But things prior to the unification of Italy are sloppy, and I can't read the longhand in some of those records is crazy. But it's cool that even with newspapers, like I was looking at newspapers from the little town where my grandparents were from 100 years ago, and the most fun thing, it was cool to see the people and the names and all that stuff, but then I zoomed out and was like looking at the advertisements for like how were they advertising to people in 1922, and it was it was like Get slim and svelte with the Hollywood Slenderizer. Join for 6 months, only 22 cents a week. I was like, oh, okay. We've always been this way. Next question.
All right, this is one of my questions. Has anyone been reading the release notes for Ubiquity's Unify iOS app lately? This week's release has an unprecedented amount of detailed fixes. They also added some features. More AI-assisted code fixes. Let's discuss.
What are you finding, Alexander?
Well, of course, this is just a guess, but I mean, for all I know, they just have a big software development team. But I've never, to my knowledge, have read such a long list of fixes in an iOS app. And by the way, first of all, how spoiled are we to actually get a software developer that has bothered to spend the time to actually tell you what they've changed, other than just one line that just says bug fixes? So anyways, if you look at this, they've made improvements here, but look at the bug fix list. And I started scrolling down here, and yeah, they've done some other bigger releases, but I don't see one that's this big. If I go to what's new and I look at their timeline, so this is the latest one, I scroll down, where is this here? This is the last few releases, like not that many line items, right? And this one's this massive. And they have other iOS apps too that have been getting big. The Wi-Fi Man app got a ton of bug fixes. So anyways, it's a really interesting thing. We don't know for certain. This is just a guess, but obviously we've seen this trend. We know that Microsoft and we know that Mozilla and other big software development companies are putting their code into these tools to assist them with finding flaws, and they're patching them rapidly. We know that one of the recent Mozilla Firefox releases had almost 300 bug fixes, and Microsoft's recent Patch Tuesday had an unprecedented amount of fixes. I think it was almost 600 patches with a ton of 0-day fixes. So I think it's great that these tools are around to assist us, but it's very interesting. The whole landscape of software development is just rapidly changing, and obviously we've touched on it. We've done some AI sessions and stuff like that. Chris Sabato showed some of the stuff that he's made, but it's really interesting to see that these tools are being used for fixing bugs, which is a great thing.
Well, and I look at it, we've got two things. We have a confluence of two things that are happening. Number one is we've got tools that are able to find bugs before humans do that are better than ever. I guess it's three things. So tools to find the bugs, tools to put in developers' hands to help fix those bugs, and then you take the grunt work of documenting out of it, because programs are math. And so if you run a diff on your code and you see, okay, it was this and now it's this, infer what changed, what did we fix based on the differences in the code from A to B, it's very low effort to all of a sudden have this big laundry list of documentation of what actually happened. And if you have a small development team that doesn't write everything down, there's a lot of us out there, this can be really helpful if you have part of your cleanup before you go to commit something or before you're going to do a release is actually do documentation and a taxonomy of what happened. I think that's really powerful, because when you have one or two people who are working on a project for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and they have a close working relationship, there's a lot of things that are implicit, things that are learned by osmosis, right? You don't need to write anything down because everybody's in the same room. Everybody knows what's going on. And that's great until somebody wants to retire. And then you're like, now we call it tech debt. Things are a lot easier when even like this, you just have little things that are written down that can all of a sudden help be a pointer. And yes, there's a little bit of archaeology involved, but it helps if there's crib notes. Next question.
All right, this one's from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. Is the ATEM Mini out of style, dead in the water, or do folks still use it?
Tom.
Well, the ATEM Mini has been around 7 years now, since 2019. When it was first introduced, it was new at $349. You can buy one today for $165 out of B&H, used, and that's great. Adam Tao's Mix Effects program still makes this a very powerful device, because then you can remote control it. What has always amazed me about the ATEM Mini and the other devices that have followed that are like the ATEM Mini is that they frame synchronize all the inputs. Back in 1980, a frame synchronizer for a single frame, a single input, would have cost you 10.5 inches of rack space and $30,000.
Courtney?
Well, it's been a long and torturous road. I have an ATEM, the original ATEM, and I have an ATEM Mini Pro, which is where they've dropped the original ATEM. The Pro, of course, the Pro, and there's the Pro ISO. And these still are functional. I'm using one right now because it has a couple of features. I've transitioned from that switcher, which is a little four-banger HDMI inputs, to the Rodecaster Video, which has a lot of advantages over the main drawbacks of the original ATEM, where it's lousy audio input. So if you wanted to have audio, you had to have a separate audio mixer, and your only audio inputs were little mic inputs that were 1/8-inch TRS. The Rodecaster Video has a lovely, good preamps, because Rode, of course, who got their start in audio, has these good preamps with microphone preamps with 2 XLR connectors. And it has good TRS audio ins and outs, large ones, in addition to your regular HDMIs. And it has the ability to take in cameras from UVC. So if you have a webcam, you can plug it in here and use it as a source, as well as other audio device, USB mixers, etc. A couple of things the Rode Video does not have, which irks me, and it's one reason I'm still have although I'm using the Rodecaster Video S, the smaller version of this one, to create that little picture-in-picture that I was just showing you. It doesn't have the ability to do a screen grab for some reason. It has a built-in media player, which is great. That's the other weakness of the ATEM Minis. There's no onboard RAM in the ATEM Minis, so if you want to save other than just a few stills, it'll hold maybe, 30 stills, 90 stills, that's it. And if you want to do a little stinger transition that is a little 40-frame animated transition or something, it'll hold one, and that's it. 40 frames or something like that. But the newer, the Rode Videos have, I don't know, 12K or something, 12 megabytes of internal storage. So you can store little videos, video opens, video closes, audio tracks, stingers, things like that can be stored inside the Video S. So those are some advantage. Although the latest thing to come, the thing that I think is eating all their lunch, is the new Osee. We've just gotten the new Osee Omni 12 ISO, which is a 12 input. It's like the Mini Extreme. It has 12 inputs. This is very cool. It does a lot of the things the ATEMs don't. It has a T-bar. It has macros. It has audio. It has HDMI and SDI inputs on every single input, and you can pick and choose. It has HDMI and SDI outputs. It's got 4 SDI outputs, which are actually 2 and 2. So it's 2 different feeds across 4 outputs. Same thing with their HDMI outputs. So it's pretty great. It's going to be about $2,000, so it's going to be kind of competitively priced once they start shipping it. And I've looked at the features and looked at the demos, the Osee, and it checks all the boxes. So I'd like to see that one as well. Has the T-bar, the screen capture, the onboard media players, the macros, all that great stuff.
Guy?
Yeah, I see that there's over 1 million of these units out on the market, so it's not going away anytime soon. There's always going to be a secondhand market that's going to gobble these things up. And I run a Facebook group along with Jonas and help from Chuck Wojak that has 72,000 people in it, and it is very active. So I can tell you that this group has people in there every day talking about ATEMs. I do love these new devices that are coming out that have a mix of HDMI, SDI, NDI it does show you that there's still a craving for more. And I don't know if Blackmagic will ever answer that call of having a mix in a new model. The latest stuff that we saw in April that was announced was all 2110 stuff. So it's like, yo, what about us guys that still want to run ATEM minis and stay under $2,000? I don't think anything was announced that was under $5,000. So it's like, hey, there's a million of us owners out here that have these units. And yeah, the stuff that I see on the projects that we do, the ATEM Mini Extreme still can do a lot of that stuff. And a lot of it relies on Companion with this integration where there's so many out there, there's so many users that all the buttons can be programmed, and we have all these macros. So the Blackmagic environment is something that we're not abandoning because of the fact that Companion and the third-party stuff that we can do with it, with Mix Effect, is so cool. I mean, everything just works well together. And the fact that you can do 8, well, at least on my Extreme, I can record all of those 8 inputs is sweet. So I don't have to take my bank. I have 9 Key Pros, but they're really heavy, and those will only do 1080p 30. So they're not even the latest, 12G. To get into the whole 4K world, you're talking big bucks. So if you don't need 4K at the moment, the old ATEM Extreme, I call it old, it's not that old, but the ATEM Extreme is pretty sweet. And I'm still waiting on Blackmagic to send us our loaner G2 so I could show you guys what it looks like to bring ISO feeds in from Zoom ISO via SRT, which is something I'm excited because Andy Carluccio showed that we could just use one cable to bring in 8 inputs, which is pretty crazy. So it's not a bunch of HDMI inputs, it's just one cable. So I'm excited to try that out.
Chris.
I really liked your low-key flex there, Guy, talking about all your Key Pros that you have. So, Courtney, a couple of questions. You mentioned the one, I think it was the Rode. The Rode has the ability to bring in a webcam alongside an HDMI input. That's very cool. And then the other question is, the other switcher that you mentioned that has the T-bar, does that T-bar have enough resolution that you can destroy a Death Star with it?
Possibly, but that was a Grass Valley T-bar,
awesome.
and there's nothing more powerful than a Grass Valley T-bar,
I tend to agree. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so you guys know, special announcement here. We have an AI water cooler session today, so 10 a.m. Pacific in after hours. We're going to be building a countdown timer to help us before we go into meetings and streams and things like that. So if you're interested in seeing how the AI wizards of office hours would go about building that, check out officehours.global/cooler, or it would be in the email. If you're not on the email, go to officehours.global/join. You can sign up there, and then you can find out not only who's going to be on the show, but also you can see how to get into after hours, how to get into Discord, and our members only show on Sundays. So officehours.global/join for that. For the AI water cooler, officehours.global/cooler. Next question.
All right, next up is from Brody Hefner in New York City, New York. I'm surprised at the exploding appeal of microdramas, with many being partially AI produced. On balance, is this displacing media professionals or offering new production opportunities?
Courtney.
Well, I don't think it's, this is, what we like to refer to as AI slop, if you're talking about the AI produced ones. There's a lot of these that are coming out of third world countries. They're just being manufactured to throw up on YouTube to garner advertising placement that are generated by AI. The scripts are written by AI. They're repetitive. They usually a lot of times they're documentaries that repeat the same 7 clips that are in public domain, or will not get them pulled down off of YouTube. Repeating those same 7 clips and putting it against an AI generated voice with an AI generated script. They make them 30 minutes long so that they can gather as many clicks as possible, and they throw them hundreds of them up on YouTube. Hopefully that you'll with a an alluring thumbnail and title to get you to click on. You won't believe what went on behind the scenes on, All in the Family. Yeah.
That's what I was watching the other day. I watched that video.
Was Gene Stapleton really having, an affair with Meathead? It's, and then you play the video and it never addresses what's in the thumbnail for some reason. So I don't think this is displacing it. Actual drama, Quibi, I think, proved, which was a lot of money and was an experiment about 5 years ago, that put up a lot of money to do short dramatic pieces on the internet with real stars and real writers and real camera people and real production people. It failed miserably. So I think, a lot of people, everybody's watching stuff on their phones. Many of you don't remember short attention span theater. This was 1989 comedy series. Look, there's Jon Stewart when he was just a young buck. Yeah, so it was a concept back in 1989 for people who didn't have the patience to watch anything very long, longer than a few minutes, and that was on Comedy Central. So is it coming back? No. And is it displacing a lot of people because of AI? I think where most people are going to be displaced as far as actors go, actors, cameramen, AI, image generation AI, will displace, everybody in the crew, the writers, the directors, the actors, the cinematographers, the gaffers, the, drivers, anyone who's involved in production. They're all gone. And I'm seeing more and more commercials these days. Look very closely at the disclaimers in the bottom of the screen, because you may see, let's see, what is it? Deal Dash, that company. When you see those testimonials and their commercials, look carefully. It says real experiences depicted by AI. In the disclaimer down there, all those actors in those Deal Dash commercials are not real people. And they're all generated by AI. I'm seeing more and more of that in commercials because AI can generate clips that are less than 30 seconds long. So they fit perfectly into commercials, and they don't have to pay anybody residuals. They don't have to pay SAG fees. They don't have to, that person is not real, so they don't have to pay them an eternity as long as that commercial runs. So that's the first place that these AI generated images are going to displace people. Doing real drama, I don't think it's that good enough and that believable enough, but it's good enough to go, I got this, this PlayStation for only 12 cents. It can do that.
Those were the days, Chris.
So I think what he's referring to are the micro videos that show up on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, where you're just scrolling through and all of a sudden it's like the only way I can describe it is like AI soap operas, or like they could be like, and that's what I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure if it's AI or if it's actors. They can't be actors. Like these actors can't be that bad. Like it's so terrible, but it it sucks you in. Like I want to know, is this guy gonna get his comeuppance or not? Or like it's I've watched so many of them, and I get to the end of the video and it's like I don't want to like try and find the next video, and so I just scroll on. But it's just garbage. It's just garbage. But I've watched lots of that garbage just because it shows up in my screen, and I think it's kind of like a car wreck, right? Like the rubberneckers, like this. You're scrolling through and you just see this movie that looks like it's a produced movie. It looks like a real thing, but the acting is so terrible and so overdramatic. Like I can't turn away. It's like, what is this real? Is this an actual person and they're really this bad at acting? Like I need to know, is this what this is? And so it's not going to replace anything. It's all garbage. And if it went away, no one would care. But I've been sucked into a couple of them several times.
Fenwick?
Yeah, I think what you're doing is you're confusing actors with reenactors. They're kind of actors, but they're just reenacting things. So they don't get to be called real actors. They're reenactors. That's my thought.
I've also seen where there are foreign language, or to me anyway, I'll see Chinese dramas or Korean dramas that are put into these little short form, but then the subtitles or the dub is in English. But then I think my wife was like, what they're saying in the caption it was something that was in Cantonese, and there was like, there's something in the caption that's not what they're saying. Like, that's not what's happening. They're using the shots, and then they're constructing a different story out of it. It's kind of like, I actually look at this as one of the ultimate like gamings of the algorithm. It's just like when you watch a top 10 list, and you get to like and it ends right before they get to number one. It's like they make you, so that tells the algorithm that you've watched this video the whole way through. So that's a signal that, oh, we should promote this channel. But the other thing is, in the same like manipulation of your emotions that happen on network television, where they get you all, they get you drawn in and they heighten your emotions right before they cut to commercial to sell you toilet paper or whatever. The microdramas format like puts you on that cliffhanger right before the video ends, and then you can't just scroll to the next one. So what do? You click on the channel, you go into the video archive, you scroll down to wherever it says just watched, and then you're like trying to find the next one in the series, and they're not sequential all in order. So then you're looking for part one, part two, and all. So in some ways, you see people who are making genuinely new content, but then on the other hand, you have the repurposing of existing content and then tweaking the storyline, but you also see a gaming of the algorithm because you're watching the full length of a video without swiping past it, and then you're digging into the channel to find out more. So all of that ends up inflating its, I don't know if there's a prominent score or how much the algorithm is going to favor it, but then more people see it and it snowballs. Next question.
All right, next up is from Dan Browning in Victor, Montana. I have a system with 7 NDI cameras and 2 Netgear M4250 8-port switches. What router system would be recommended to buy for connecting to a different venue internet each week? I also own my Wi-Fi network. My current Google Nest is not cutting it.
Chris Abato.
If you want just something simple, plug and play, just go with the Netflix router. It's not anything special, but it will route, and it configures like your existing routers. If you, one of the things I looked at that kind of stands out.
Netflix router, or is it? What was that?
The net. He said he has Netgear, so the Netgear.
Oh, Netgear. You said Netflix. I thought there was something else.
No.
Okay,
that's not it.
That's okay.
That's not,
I was like, I don't know about this one.
You heard that wrong.
Oh, I see. Sorry. But
yeah, Netgear. So yeah, the existing, like, just go with you could just go with the Netgear and it would plug in and work. The WAN ports on that are only 2.5G. So depending on what your NDI workflow is, that may not be enough. Probably is. But then you can start getting into, bigger, switches from Aruba and Cisco, and Ubiquity has some routers, and it just kind of depends. Like if you just need the upgrade from the Google Nest, I think that the Netgear switch is a good next step. But I would look at kind of what your path is, and if that 2.5G is going to be enough between the two switches.
Coming from the chat, Mickey McAture recommends the Peplink Balance 580X, or at the very least, a Peplink B15G. Your NDI cameras and your switches do not influence the router unless you need level 3 routing at the router level for some reason. Next question.
All right, next up is from Tom Ferguson in Phoenix, Arizona, here on the panel. If you were consulting for Blackmagic Rode or Osee, what features would you desire in a new desktop video switcher?
Tom.
I love the design of the new Osee control panel, but I hate the idea of so many cables on my desk. That just gets so cluttered in the office here. I want a control surface with power and Ethernet only, or better yet, power over Ethernet, and then all the features we put into a switcher. But I'd love to hear what the rest of the panel has to say.
Courtney?
Well, Tom, you should look at the Rodecaster Video Core, which is the same hardware that is inside the Video S and the full-size video, except it's just a little box, no controls on it whatsoever. It sits in the rack. You plug all your I/O into that, and then you can control it from a Rodecaster audio mixer, so that all the 6 buttons that you have on the Rodecaster audio switcher can then be reassigned to macros that will switch the video core, switch video, and run the macros and do a lot of playback video intros, things like that, all from that single mix panel, the Rodecaster Pro 2. So you look at that. That is something that's fairly cheap. It can sit in the rack. It can handle video. The things that I would look for in Osee, Rode, and Blackmagic is, you need to have good audio inputs. The Rodecasters solve that problem, and so do the Osees. The Blackmagics do not. The problem with the Blackmagic is they make video playback devices. So the marketers will prevent them from building a lot of media playback into the switcher itself because they want to sell you a playback device, so they Media Express. So they probably won't ever do what Osee and Rode have done and put the media players with RAM built into the switcher itself so you can trigger video playback for even video segments or news segments or roll-ins, any of the video roll-ins that you want to do in a live show. Those can handle a lot of those playbacks. You can hold, 30, 40 minutes worth of video playback inside the switcher itself. So that's what is great about the Rode and the Osees that the ATEMs don't have. The things that Rode and Osee, I've covered it before, that they don't have is screen grab. That's essential to be able to grab an image, a still image, to throw it into to the media pool. Can't do that with the Rode for some reason. The Rode also, although both of them have remote software, the Rode does not have the ability to have a T-bar that'll stop halfway through a transition. So you can't do a mix between two video sources, or a wipe that stops halfway, or that you control where the wipe is positioned, because you hit execute button and it completes the wipe, completes the fade, and you can't stop it halfway like you can with the ATEMs. The other thing the ATEMs don't have is a lot of macros built in. The ability to load and save macros. They do in the higher end machines, but not as many as the Rode or the Osees do. And I'd like to see more of those. And of course, there are third party, Mix Effect Pros, things that handle creating those great macros with doing the DVI moves and all that transitions. You can find those in third parties. But also, you won't see NDI support coming to Blackmagic because they're always been at war with NewTek, who owns NDI, or has licensed NDI and has to receive payments. They've gone the 2110 route, and all of the new ATEM switchers are supporting 2110, which puts them in a whole different price bracket than the cheap stuff at the bottom end for us prosumers. So I'd like to see NDI support, which is available in the Rode and the Osees.
Yeah, it's super interesting to see how we have a couple of different strategies of how we're going to target this. How are we going to target the enthusiast and prosumer market with, you're going to get in between $1,000 and $2,000. And right now, because there are so many competing technologies, I want to respect somebody that's going to commit to trying to put energy and development resources behind something, and then see how, and then we're kind of in a wait. At least for me, I'm waiting and seeing, okay, it's going to be 5 or 10 years before something actually starts to crystallize around this is the future. It's not quite VHS Betamax. Guy?
Yeah, there's a lot more to this question than folks realize. In electronics, especially, there's the bill of materials, so your cost of goods. So you want to arrive at an MSRP that's going to be 2, 3 to 5 times X, because if you have a distribution channel, you have a distributor in the middle, you have manufacturing is taking place in Singapore, China, Australia, and then it's getting shipped. So you got to have all these fees and tariffs. And then by the time you have a reseller that resells that to an end user, you've got this number that needs to be hit. So as we come up with all these dream wish list, it's got to make sense. Like one time I had Roland, I was doing some consulting for those guys, and I had their engineers in from Japan in our store, and I was showing them the Blackmagic T-bar on at the time it was the 1ME panel, and that was like a $4,000 panel at the time, and he was like, that T-bar alone, just that piece is like a lot of money. He was just like pointing at it going, we can't really do that very efficiently. Cause I was like, we need this. And he's like, no, not at the V1 HD, which was their $1,000 level switcher. So you got to figure out like, where does this start to make sense from a money standpoint? And Blackmagic lost money last year. So go look. They're not a public company, but there was a big article that just came out. So you got to be careful about what you wish for. And sometimes you'll spend a bunch of money in R&D tying up, 2110's the future. Let's go move that route. Let's abandon the ATEM minis. I don't know what's going on in their heads, but all this stuff that everybody wants, you got to realize they got to do it at mass scale to be able to buy down, let's say, 100,000 units. So they produce 100,000 units, buy 100,000 of those T-bars, and now they can get that price point really low. So as we dream up, okay, I want it to be an audio mixer. I want it to be an encoder, that can do SRT out and to take 2110 or NDI in. You got to realize all these licensing fees, and that's why Blackmagic will never do NDIs, because there's a licensing fee. So that's out the window. So we got to, I guess, wait and see what Rode's going to do and Osee go and see what we could hit for under the $1,500 price point, because the rest of the stuff it's a different world when you start getting into the Rosses and the high end stuff. Even we're getting into the software switchers now that are becoming, what I'm seeing on the street is a lot of vMix. It's crazy how much vMix is out there now. So I'm seeing a lot of productions that are going away from hardware and going over to the software just because it's cheap.
Fenwick.
At the risk of shilling my own show, I'm going to shill my own show. Just this morning, I released an episode with Colleen Pendergast on The Grill. And Colleen worked at Apple for 16 years on Final Cut. And she spanned between Final Cut 7 and Final Cut 10. Actually, I think she started at Final Cut 5 or something like that. But it's fascinating to hear from an insider all of the challenges that you have as a developer to develop anything. And it's really easy for us on the outside to say, but I need this. I was like, yeah, you do. And that thing is available. What becomes a problem is that we just don't want to pay for it. Like Guy just said, but I want a fader bar on this $1,000 switcher. Yeah, that fader bar would make that $1,000 switcher a $1,500 switcher, but you don't want to pay for it. And so it's hard enough when everybody has unreal expectations. But it's really interesting to hear what Colleen said about the development of Final Cut and how hard it was not to just build the thing and make the thing happen. As it turns out, that's the easy part. The hard part is selling it up the ladder to the point where the management above you says, yes, spend the resources, do the thing. So it's a really interesting interview. I would love it if you went and watched it. Like and subscribe. AG1. Go AG1.
No, that is a fictitious AG1. But in the name of real support, I would like to ask a question of you, and that is, has office hours made you laugh? Have we made you think? Did we save you money? Did we help you get to a decision faster? If you've gotten some value out of office hours, I encourage you to give some of that value back at officehours.global/donate. We're a largely member-supported organization here, not only in the treasure department, but also time and talent. We have a tremendous amount of volunteers who help during the show, but also after the show, keeping us organized moving forward. And just want to say thank you to everyone for helping keep Office Hours Global afloat. If you'd like to chip in, officehours.global/donate. Next question.
All right, this one's from Paul Vahus in Austin, Texas. What advice would you give as far as basic beginning gear to someone just starting out in office hours?
Alexander Knight.
Well, without getting too specific, so I would try to understand some basic concepts. First of all, table stakes, hardwired internet connection, so network connection with a cable. I would understand 3-point lighting. And what's so funny about that?
No, Chris has a graphic up right now, and I see it in my gallery, and it's like far from the router, close to the router, plugged into the router, and plugged into the router is is that a Ferrari or a Corvette? Anyway, yes.
Exactly. So
it's better than a Pinto.
wired connection. Understand 3-point lighting. So you want your, figure out your key fill and hopefully something as your hair's shoulder light, so you don't look like an entire black blob on screen if you're wearing a black T-shirt like me, which is nice because that helps separate the background from the foreground. And of course, decent microphone and camera. Now these days you don't have to spend a lot. So I would say, using your words, Paul, as a beginner, I would say most web cameras that are around the $200 range, like an Insta360 Link, will look really, really good. As long as you start with the basics, the foundational stuff like I talked about, which is having really excellent controlled lighting in that environment that you're in. Microphones, I mean, there's so many good dynamic microphones that are USB-based that are under $200. Now, we've talked about this many times in the past, but the Shure MV7 comes with a little tabletop mic stand for, I think, $150 US. And that's a really good sounding microphone. And because it's USB, you just plug your mic straight into the computer, has the interface already built in. And also, I was going to say, you should acoustically treat the room, but if you are a beginner, you might not have the budget for acoustic absorption panels. Yes, you can do it on the cheap with heavy moving blankets, but then it looks ugly. You may be living with someone who may not want you to alter the living space all that much too. So the other advantages of a mic like the MV7 is with the built-in DSP processing, you've got background noise removal at your disposal, and you can use that. But yeah, always start with the foundational stuff.
Courtney.
Well, let's see. I'd say, Alexander has covered, a lot of the rudimentary stuff. Good microphone. I like the Stellar. When these things are on sale, the Stellar, Stellar X2. When they put them on sale about twice a year, Black Friday and on Amazon Prime Day, for under $100. Best deal of the century. You get the mic, the shock mount, carrying case, everything you need. But then you need a device to plug it into that supports 48 volt phantom power. So you need a good preamp with a good mixer. And the 2-for-1 choice, that's why I went, and I think you have as well, the Rodecaster Video S, because it has the good preamps, it has HDMI inputs, it supports NDI. It also, you can start out, because it has a USB input that supports UVC, you can start out with a webcam and then upgrade to a DSLR and bring it in as an HDMI in later. So you can start out there. It has good XLR preamps with high quality preamps with the Aphex Magic to enhance your voice with the big bottom and a lot of other things, which I'm not using at all. Noise reduction, things like that. It has, Ethernet connection. It has remote operation with software. It has all that good stuff. The Osee products look great too. They're similarly priced, and they make a four-banger input that doesn't have SDI input that is available. And the nice thing is they have media playback as well. So that ticks a lot of boxes. Also, the Video S can be operated remotely. Feedback. Look, sir, there's some of that great video feedback.
Oh, yeah.
It has the remote software on the Rodecaster. Not only gives you the built-in switcher like this that you can operate remotely, it also gives you remote video. So you can send this, somebody else on the network can use that software to operate your switcher and see the video in the same software, so you don't have to send them a separate multi-view, anything like that. So that's handy to have. So that would be table stakes, whatever Alexander said as far as your basic stuff. Lighting is another important thing. You can get some panel lights. Stay with something with like a 15-inch source light. Gives you a nice smooth look, and it gets rid of some of these ugly wrinkles that you see on my face. And You can get Neewer lights that are battery powered and have multi color temperature. You can tune them between 5,000 and 3,200 Kelvin to match your incoming lighting. So that's handy to have, and one or two of those will get you set for lighting, give you enough light to get a good looking image. So don't forget lighting, because the lighting determines the quality of your video signal. Not enough light, your video gets grainy and ugly. So keep that in mind.
Wide internet, good microphone. People are listening more actively than they're watching, and also it's all about you. It's about the knowledge that you're bringing and the perspective that you're sharing. If you're somebody that's wanting to be into office hours, this community is about sharing with one another and taking the scars that you've developed over the years and figuring out how to help somebody maybe not get them themselves. So a good microphone and a hardwired internet is the best place to start. If you'd like to try out what it's like to be on the panel, do that officehours.global/join. Then you get into Discord and start DMing around, figure out how to get in. A couple thank yous. Thank you very much to our panel for being here today and sharing some of that life experience and wisdom. We appreciate everybody coming in here, volunteering their time. Also, thank you to our producers for asking such great questions. It's amazing. You never know what direction the day is going to go. And it's always an adventure. Also, thank you again to our volunteers and back-end crew who help keep this show going every single day. Cannot do it without you. Philolic Traversal today, had we gone around in person and asked these questions for episode 2334, we would have gone 21,000 miles. That's 34,000 kilometers, 167 million. Bananas for scale. See you in after hours.
I have a pretty good idea where the day's going to go.
Oh, we're going to Deal Dash?
I've never heard of that Deal Dash thing.
Look, here they are. These people are not real in this commercial. Where are they?
They might be real. They're
Nope.
reenactors.
It says, if you look in the lower corner there, and unfortunately you can't see it in this image, it says actual experiences portrayed by AI. None of these people are real.
I need to go sit in front of a cooler or something. It's 85 degrees now.
And your AC in your house is out?
In the
We had
cooler
we had a lightning strike and it knocked out the blower motor. So, and we're just waiting on a new part to come in.
My condolences.